Start it.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is 5:00 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, and I'd like to begin our regular workshop. Our first item this evening is a presentation from ResourceWise and Sustainability Partners regarding the new Camstrop, is that how you
Yes, sir.
pronounce that, water metering system. Let's fill me in a little bit on this, and I don't have much to say. I'm here to listen. This is a presentation for all the trustees to hear what it is you guys offer. So whoever your representative is, take it away.
Good, thank you. Well, I'll start and then I'll have Aaron join me here in a minute with ResourceWise. But my name is Ryan Mast.
Okay, I got one favor to ask. I'm sorry. We call that the hot seat. And because we're on Zoom, that way the camera can see it and hear you.
Should we put that table on?
So give me a place to have to take some notes.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and trustees. It's a real pleasure to be here this evening. Again, my name is Ryan Mast. I'm the lead for Sustainability Partners for New Mexico and then Southern Colorado. So I head up all of our teams on our projects throughout there and then support throughout the Southwest. I've got with me tonight one of my colleagues, Greg Seeley, who helps support us also from New Mexico, but also supporting up here in Colorado. They're actually coming from a workshop and a conference in Grand Junction with the AWWA. And then we have our vendor partners, ResourceWise, who are contracted with us to provide support for water meter projects throughout the Southwest, so in New Mexico as well as in Southern Colorado. Sustainability Partners is a public benefit company. We provide an alternative funding structure for public entities called Infrastructure as a Service. Some of the top line benefits of it is it's a non-debt way to achieve essential infrastructure and move forward with that, but then also have ongoing support for maintenance. So what we've done is essentially through our model converted a capital expenditure into an operational expenditure in a utility-like structure. The as-a-service model works really well for a lot of essential infrastructure systems, and in particular in water meters, because metering systems are already structured as a utility, and because the meter is such an essential part of your system, being both the brain and the cash register for all of it, being able to convert this into a sustainable and reliable system over time works really well for the communities that we are deploying our infrastructure in. So we call this metering as a service. So we'll go through some of the top line aspects of this, but it is something that is we've done quite a bit here throughout the Southwest now, and it's gaining a lot of traction. We'll go to the next slide. Some of the reasons why we got into this space was the core challenge that a lot of communities face with declining performance of their essential infrastructure. So as your water meter performance declines over time, you're getting inaccurate reads. And when you get inaccurate reads, that means your revenue is actually going down because you're not capturing all the water that's actually flowing through your pipes. In addition, your operational expenses are going up because you're spending more and more of your maintenance cost on that, replacing old aging meters, doing service calls for non-functioning meters or ones that are breaking over time. And so what that creates then is an imbalance in your water system, because water systems are meant to be balanced by the revenue coming in through your monthly utility bills and then the money going out to account for your operational costs and then your capital upgrades. That declining performance over time when you get to an end-of-life system then becomes a high capital expenditure for communities to overcome. And if there's not a dedicated budget or dedicated capital outlay process for that, a lot of communities then get stuck in basically putting a lot of money into an aging system and just not being able to get out of that. So what, as a service model is really designed to address is to help communities overcome that upfront capital burden, to enable them to get high-performing meters that are allowing them to maximize their data, maximize their revenue streams, then also create that consumer confidence that they're actually having their information or their meter is, their water system is actually being tracked appropriately. So including things such as alarms for residents to let them know when they have a leak, or better data so that they know what their water usage is actually at, creates and enhances that confidence in the public utility because they know that that data is accurate and going to be trustworthy over time. So that's what we've aimed to address in the Meter as a Service program. The other thing is we don't want to be a moment in time. We don't want to be just deploying money into something that then will also age out over time and you'll get back into that cycle of a non-performing system. And so through the as a service model, we include the maintenance and upgrades into the usage rate so that there are dedicated reserves to account for anything that may happen to that system over time. So if there's a meter that breaks, or if something needs to be replaced, or if there's new technology out there that would enhance the system, then that's built into the usage rate so that over time we can actually support and sort of break that cycle of run to fail on meter systems. We'll go to the next slide. I'll take a pause now from my discussion points, just if there's any questions right now. But then I'll allow Aaron to come up and talk a little bit about Camstrup water meter. As a company, we're agnostic to what we put in by design. Like we want to work with whatever technology is best for the community that we're working in. In the water meter space, the vast majority of our systems end up being Camstrup systems because as it stands, it's the best meter on the market. And Aaron will get into a lot of the reasons why, but a lot of the challenges that communities are facing with their meter systems, Camstrup has in their design and in their manufacturing process is really accounted for. And so it really becomes a really perfect marriage with the as a meter service where we're trying to ensure that you don't have declining performance over time, and they provide the actual technology to help ensure that that happens. So Aaron, do you want to come up and talk a little bit about the meter?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's Aaron Burke. I'm the owner of ResourceWise. We're local business. My father started the business back in 2002. He recently retired. We're based out of Albuquerque. We are the vendor for Camstrup water metering in New Mexico and southern Colorado. We are one of the oldest, if not the oldest, vendor for Camstrup in the US. So we were brought on early on when Camstrup first entered the US market. A little bit about Camstrup, they're a Danish company. They pioneered the technology of using ultrasonic or transit time to measure water. The benefits of this is there's no moving parts, so the meter doesn't slow down. They require no maintenance. They're incredibly accurate. They are the most accurate meter on the market. They're capable of measuring water down to 0.008 gallons per minute, which is a drip of water. In addition to their high degree of accuracy, they're also incredibly reliable. So we started out in water conservation. We quickly learned a lot of water loss was occurring through meters, not necessarily always leaks, although that is a big problem. And what we found over the years was a lot of our customers were struggling with keeping up with the metering system. Either they were just too complex of systems, they were constantly having failures, they always had meters that weren't working, they had meters that weren't reading. It was costing utilities a lot of time and money, lost revenue, and the most important thing is water, right? So we struggled to find something reliable for our customers. That is when we came across Camstrup at the ACE conference in Denver back in 2013. Then shortly after, that's when they entered the US market. They have a manufacturing facility in Atlanta, Georgia. Some of you may have met Nick. He's my outside sales rep. He's actually in Atlanta right now for training. They have a 153,000 square foot facility there. As far as the technology goes, Camstrip, they're owned by a Danish cooperative, so they are not necessarily driven by profits like a lot of the corporations are. So they invest a lot of their profits into R&D. So a lot of the technologies out there were actually developed by Camstrip. One of those technologies that currently Camstrip is the only manufacturer that offers is the acoustic leak detection technology. So most of your meters nowadays, they will provide a leak alarm. The way that works is if the homeowner has a leak and the water meter records continuous flow for 24 hours or longer, the meter assumes there's a leak and it sends a leak alarm. The Camstrip meter does that, but in addition to, it listens for leaks on both sides of the meter. So if you have a leak on your service line, which that's generally where leaks occur, or on the main, it's gonna hear that leak and it's gonna flag the meter. So that helps again with conserving water. Also, it helps minimize your catastrophic type failures where now you're having to shut down a whole neighborhood, sometimes the city, just to repair a leak. Those can be very costly. In addition to that technology, what we're proposing is an AMI system. So with the AMI system, we deploy a collector. We'll backhaul that via internet or cellular. The village or the city will own its own radio frequency, and the meter and the collector, they both talk and listen, so it's two-way communication, and they use a licensed frequency to do that. This allows the city to receive hourly reads, so every meter will have 24 reads per day, 365 days a year. Your alarms are broadcast immediately, so as soon as an alarm is triggered, you're gonna receive that alarm. You can set up alerts or notifications, so either your operators receive those alarms or notifications. We're including a customer portal, so the homeowner has the ability to download an app on their smart device and they'll receive those notifications. They can also set basically limits on how much water or notifications. So if maybe they don't want to exceed 5,000 gallons per month, they can set an alert. Once they hit 5,000 gallons, it's going to notify them. That way they know to cut back. Or let's say they have a vacation home and they don't want to see any consumption on their meter. If there's consumption on the meter, there's a problem, so they can set an alert to let them know, hey, the meter is now starting to record some water, and they can take action to protect their home. Also, with the customer portal, it also includes advanced analytics, which help the utility better maintain or manage the system. So it has the capability to take readings from your production meters. It's pulling the reads from your consumption meters. It will give you a water balance, so it'll show you what you produced and then also what you sold on a per day basis. So you always know what that loss percentage is. You have the capability to break that up into zones. So if you have 4 zones, the algorithm's gonna know which zones operate on average at what loss percentage. And if you come into the office in the morning and you see one zone has a higher loss percentage, then you can start investigating. Then at that time, you can go into your acoustic leak detection software and start investigating. If you do see that some of the meters are picking up high level of noise, we're offering a ground mic as part of the package, so then the operator can go out there and get on top of where that leak is occurring and make the repair. So there's a lot of benefits to the system that really help the city increase efficiency, also start capturing some of that revenue that's being lost right now. On the water conservation side of things, when people start to understand that now they're being billed for what they're actually using, and it starts hitting them in the wallet, they inherently start to cut back on their usage. So there's been some case studies. I know one recently where they cut their pumping cost by 30% once the system was deployed. Roosevelt County Water Co-op is another great case study. They buy their water from the city of Portales, and they cut back the amount of water they were buying from the city by almost 3 million gallons. 30 million gallons, yeah.
30 million gallons year on year.
Year on year. So that's a significant savings. So selling water and what you're paying to produce it, there's always going to be that variable. Doesn't necessarily always mean the more you're selling, the more you're making. Sometimes your pumping costs are going up, but because of your inaccurate meters or line breaks, you're pumping more than what you're actually selling, so you're now operating at a loss. So there's a number of benefits. We have quite a few customers in New Mexico, and we're starting to gain some traction here in southern New Mexico. We just picked up the territory probably about 6 months ago. We are now selling meters to the city of Durango, so and we're getting ready to deploy a system for the city of Farmington. We're in the middle of a deployment for city of Bloomfield, Blanco. We're getting ready to start that. So just in the northern part of the state, we have quite a few references. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide. So when we put together all the benefits of a system like that, in order to be able to achieve it, that's where metering as a service comes in. So for us, we call it potential for immediate return on your investment. It always happens, right? So for us, when you first deploy these, you see an immediate jump in revenue just from capturing the non-revenue water, whatever wasn't captured as well. But then over time, from an operational budget perspective, you see your operational costs go down, either from not having to do service calls, not having to deploy your own resources out to be repairing meters over time, but then also from the reduced operational costs for just creating greater efficiency. Sometimes what happens is our customers will end up then using that portion of their budget to put in to line repairs, because now they know where to pinpoint the service line leaks, et cetera. So it becomes sort of an asset management plan. Because data is important. Data is important for reporting to the state on your water usage, but then also for just knowing how to prioritize your leaks within your system. For us, the way that we approach these is complete turnkey deployment on this. And what that means is, like, it doesn't make sense to not have a portion of the system that's going to maximize it, not be part of your system. We're never going to include in there anything you don't need, but we're going to work with Public Works Department and the town just to understand exactly what needs to happen for this. So to make the most efficiency. So we include the meters, the installation. If you need to replace your lids, we'll replace those. If cans are broken and we need to repair those while we're out there, basically making sure that everything is optimized for that system performance over time. And we handle all of that downstream procurement in terms of the vendors for that. So we work with ResourceWise to purchase of the meters and the collectors and the ground bikes and everything on that nature. We would hire an installer and work with them, who would work with your department to do the installation. We'll project manage that. So really, it is a partnership though. So it is a relationship, and we work with the town to identify what routes to take on the replacement, on public notifications to let the public know when they're going to be servicing their water meter, what to expect from that. But then we don't stop there, as we stay engaged and work on the software, on the training of the software, on how to utilize that, because we don't want to provide anything that can't be utilized as part of the package. For us, we then convert all that cost into a month-to-month usage rate. So that can be variable depending upon what's included in that over time. But essentially what we're doing is we're amortizing our costs over the entire useful life of the asset. So for us, it makes natural sense to purchase materials that have longer useful lives, that are going to have higher performance, because then that reduces maintenance costs. So the way we approach the projects is what's the lowest total cost of ownership rather than what's the lowest first cost out. And then that cost savings get passed on to our customers. It's a set monthly fee. For us, for meters, it's just a per meter per month basis. It's a month-to-month contract. And so what that means is we're always constantly monitoring for performance, and you'd only get billed for the meters that are actually in service on that month. If there's a problem with one of the meters on our side that we need to repair, then you wouldn't get billed for it until that's up and running again. So it really is that you're contracting a service of the meter, not just purchasing an asset and hoping for the best that it works out over time. We're a cost plus organization, so we don't mark up any of the goods and services. So whatever cost we can get and negotiate on the town's behalf, that's what would be included in the capital cost on our side. So it's to our benefit and our customers' benefit to negotiate the best price. One of the good, assets or aspects of our relationship with Camstrup is we're probably at this point one of Camstrup's #1 customers across the nation, because we're deploying these systems in several states across the United States right now. Some of the systems up to 70,000 meters and more. And so from that, we can work with them on better pricing and on quicker lead times to deliver that, so that we're really abbreviating that deployment schedule. We've looked at this system and understanding also that we would have a limited construction season due to the weather conditions up there. We can get the complete system turned around in a matter of months. Thinking about starting in spring, when you get the spring thaw and can get in the cans and work on it. With our installers, we would just get it all done in a matter of months, so that you're maximizing that system and not stringing that out over multiple seasons. For us, what we call just anytime ownership of the asset. So if anytime you want to exit from the agreement, it's just a 30-day notice to us, and then you would just buy out the remaining useful life of the asset. There's no penalties, there's no early termination to that. It's really just let's assess what the remaining value is on this, and that can happen at any time. So you're not locked into a long-term contract. It's really just a service agreement that we'd be working with over time. That also goes into the fact that over time, as components need to be replaced, we would be responsible for replacing them. So we would be building up maintenance reserves to account for that, so that you don't have an unexpected cost down the line. So what we're really trying to do is create a predictability of cost over time, so that you're not left with a system that's either not working or that you need to identify a lot more capital budget for. Go to the next slide. This is a Ryan Mass slide I include in there. So my background's in emergency management, so I'm always thinking about projects and risk management aspects of it. So I break what Sustainability Partners does and what Metering as Service brings to a project like this down in sort of 4 different categories of risk management. So on the front side, it's the capital risk. So if we're handling all the upfront costs, it's our money that we're investing into that, paying all the vendors. If something's identified that's needed for the project, we can provide more money to make sure that it happens. We wouldn't shortcut the project just because an unidentified expense came up. And so we're really working to ensure that you have a fully functional, completed project. On the system design, we're working with you to what's the best design for you. So if certain components need to be added, if you want new meter can lids as that to benefit the system, we can add that. We're working to identify what all it is. So we want to make sure that you have the best design over time. On the construction, that's really an important one on the construction risk for us, especially in an area with unpredictable weather or short construction seasons. So we're responsible for delivering on that time schedule. And how we take responsibility for that, there's actually no payment due back to us, no usage payment to us until the system's up and running and you've signed off on it that it's actually benefiting your system. So if there's a delay in construction for one reason or another, you're not having to pay before you have a functioning system. That happens at the time that you actually sign off on a certificate of acceptance of it. And then the performance risk is just really, I think, the key attribute of an as-a-service type of option, where over time we're repairing and replacing any non-functioning system so that you don't have to worry about that down the line and just benefit from a high-performing meter system over time. Next slide. So we've evaluated this project already based off of information that we've gotten from the town. We've run what we call a propagation study, which is to understand how many collectors will be needed to put up to collect the information on that. And so that's what's driving our ability to know how many collectors are going to be needed. For the town here, we really could probably get away with one. We've added a second one just for redundancy, just to improve the performance, and just in case there's some weather that might make one go down for a minute, you won't lose reads because you'll have a backup one. we can work through that over time if we think that's appropriate or not, but that's what we're estimating right now. We've identified what's needed for replacing all the meters in the system right now. Of course, this is just what we've been informed of. We can add and subtract from this over time. But what we've broken it down to is as a per unit cost on the meters based off of the different sizes. And so there's also included in the usage payment the monthly recurring costs. These are just pass-through costs that any system would need. So we include an insurance. If the system can be folded into the town's insurance policy, then we can just remove that line item, but that's just, if not, we would add that. The software and hosting fees, that's what you would have for any software system you have related to a meter. What we do is we pay the annual fee and then we just amortize that monthly in the monthly bill. So those are just pass-through costs. And then we just have an estimated maintenance and care reserve. That's to build up over time. That's not for our benefit, it's for the project's benefit. And at any time we can show where that's at. But if we need to replace a meter for something unexpected that's not covered under insurance or a warranty, we would have a reserve already built up to account for that cost. We ran a couple different models on this. And just on this, on the monthly usage rate, if we look at the 5/8 by 3/4, which is your standard residential meter, on this, we're running around $8.17 a meter. That's pretty average for a mountain community. I mean, that's just kind of what, when you add in all the cost of installation and the meter itself, that's roughly what, right in range of what you get. What to expect from a revenue increase, we typically see just on the revenue savings itself, or the increased revenue through improved meter, roughly between $10 and $12 per meter, and that same size. So you're already showing how just this replacement of that is covering the cost of the meter per month. And that's pretty standard across all. That savings don't account for decreased operational costs. And so, sometimes with different communities, we're working with them to kind of estimate what that's going to look like over time as well, just to get a better sense of, here's one part of the equation, but what do we think the reduced operational costs is? Because I know right now, and you can probably know better, there's a lot of operational costs going into maintaining this meter system. Is that correct?
Yes.
We also have flexibility on how to structure this. So if you go to the next slide, we can add an escalation into this. What that does is it reduces the early year cost, and it just grows at a standard rate over time. In this case, we ran it with a 2% annual escalation. Some of our customers like to do that because that matches what their water rates increases over year. I don't know if there's an ordinance and a standard rate increase over time or average over a 5-year average, but that's also possible. What it does is it lowers those first year costs, and then those monthly usage rates will just grow as your water rates increase as well. So it just sort of matches that. So it's really up to the community to decide how they want to approach this. We can go with no escalation, 1, 2, 3%, whatever works best, just to make sure that we're matching the revenue streams coming in. I don't think we need that's why we can go to the next one. This is kind of a customer timeline just to show how quickly we can move on these projects. So on the first step is just a review of financial statements. That's already been done. We've already completed that with the community here, with Lex and team, just to kind of do some background due diligence on it. We provided an initial estimate letter, which includes those financials. That's in the packet there, which is just like rough, based off of what we know right now. These are rough costs. We operate under a standard service agreement, which would be a next step, and we'd be happy to provide that for review. It's just around 10 pages long, standard terms that we use for all customers across all asset classes. Step 4 is the service addendum. That actually includes the details of the actual project. So what we would do is translate those financials into that to show you what that would look like for review. Once we execute that with any of our customers, then it's really a 60 to 90 day due diligence phase where we're gathering additional information, making sure that we're getting specifically the scope that we need to do. We'll have some installers come out, visit the cans to verify what we need, put together a rough timeline on everything. Because what we want to do there is then finalize and give you as accurate as possible of timeline and costs associated with the project. As needed, because at that point we're also going to do a capital raise for the project, set up all the legal entities that we would need to move the project forward. It's not until step 7 at no notice to proceed that the town would actually be financially obligated. Up until that point, it's all just due diligence. And then at step 7, once we get a notice to proceed, that's when we release the vendor contracts to purchase the materials, to mobilize the contractors, et cetera. And from there, from step 7, it's all on us to manage the project and to deliver on the timeframe that we committed to, up until the point that you have a certificate of acceptance, which means that the meter system is up and running, you're getting the reads, you understand that the community members are able to log into their customer portal and understand the whole system. And then at step 10, that's when the usage payments happen. So everything up until that point is just on us to deliver the project that you need. Here's just a couple references that we put in here. Lake Charles was recently completed in Louisiana. A little bit larger system here. They're a larger community of around 35,000, I think, or so meter points. But what's significant about them is even while they were only about 75% deployed, they saw water revenues increase 24%, just by replacing the meters with that. Once they got completed, we're still waiting on the final numbers for that, but they saw such a significant jump in that. We've had some customers that have almost doubled their water revenues. Now, keep in mind, they probably had a really poor water meter system beforehand, but it just, there's a spectrum of what that is, but what we're trying to show there is just the fact that, like, by moving forward with this, you're not just getting the increased revenues that pay for the system itself, but in addition to that, there's additional revenues that can be put back into other system repairs or utilized in other parts of the budget to fill holes. The next slide has this system's a little bit closer to this. This system size, they have about 1,500. It's a water co-op in eastern New Mexico. They're our oldest customer in New Mexico. We're happy to provide a reference to contact Ursula to talk about the integration there. But as Aaron mentioned before, what's so great about what they've done is it wasn't just about getting the meter system in for accurate billing, but they've actually used it as a water conservation tool with their customers, and they've been able to reduce the water purchased from City Portales by about, I think she said 29 to 30 million gallons per year, which is significant for a dry area state that has to purchase that, because before that they were trying to figure out how they were going to purchase additional water rights just to be able to have water to run through the pipes. So it's delaying their need to have to do that, and then also ultimately reducing the costs to their customers because they have smarter usage data that they can use. So we've got several more, dozens more references that we can provide for different systems. In addition to the ones that we're currently deploying a system in Angel Fire, New Mexico, which is similar environment up here where we have a limited season, very deep meters, deep meter pits, old system that has a lot of needs like that. And that's my time, but happy to answer any questions. I know this is kind of a novel model, but we think it's really the way that infrastructure is going, and we'd be excited to work with the town up here.
All right, well, I appreciate the information. What's the smallest community that you work with?
So I think my colleague has the record for smallest meter systems where it was just a couple hundred. It's a challenge sometimes because it's the same amount of work to do a 200 meter project as is a 2,000 or 20,000 for us. But for us, what we're really doing is trying to make an impact in communities. And so I would say that a town, a system size like this is kind of right at the lower end of the projects that we typically get involved in. But for us, we see it as a huge opportunity to expand and do more work here in Southern Colorado. And in addition, we've seen the impact that we've been able to bring to towns like Angel Fire, and we'd like to replicate that here in Southern Colorado as well, just to be able to move the needle on improving their systems.
All right. Jesse?
So the microphones, what percentage of towns actually do them? All of them?
No, we kind of offer that now as it actually came from conversations we had with Ursula, where because they're a rural co-op, the leak detection software is really listening for noise between meters, and some of their meters are like a mile apart. So they say, well, the leak is here. Well, if it hasn't surfaced,
Yeah. It's still certain.
like they're gonna walk a whole mile. So we're like, well, we're like, well, that's silly to let you know you have a leak without giving you the information on how to actually do that. So we kind of just offer it as like, hey, we'll include that in there. If you don't want it, that's fine, we don't have to include it, but we like to include it, especially in smaller, in communities with smaller staff, that have limited staff, or have challenging environments or rural environments, because it just speeds the ability to find that leak once it's out there.
And it makes a big deal.
Yeah.
And Jameson?
I'd just like to make a comment on that. We just paid at another system that had a leak, and they just paid $20,000 to have someone come with a microphone for one day to try to find a leak. They found it, but it was
That's just because
$20,000.
of the commute to here.
Yeah. Did you have it?
Henry?
What's the coldest climate down that you had?
So Angel Fire is probably the coldest that we've deployed a system. We have some up in Oregon now, but Angel Fire last winter, so we had a really challenging, winter because they had a dry winter. So they didn't have the snow cover to provide the insulation, and then they had one day that it hit -30, which was one of the coldest temperatures that town had experienced. And so as a result of that, they had a lot of service lines that froze and a lot of real challenges with their water system. We had some challenges with some of our meters, but we were able to notify them on which ones needed to be replaced and go ahead and get that taken care of really quickly.
And one of the benefits of Camster water meters is they do provide you with a low temperature alarm. So we train your staff how to pull that report. So this time of the year, where you're starting to get into colder temperatures, it's a good idea to check those alarms every morning when you come in. And if you see low temperature alarms, it triggers at 37 degrees. So when you see that alarm, you can take action to protect the assets in the community. You not only want to worry about the water meter, but you also have a lot of other fitting brass that can be very expensive.
Yeah,
So-
and on that comes down to the system design factor, where we want to make sure at the point of installation, like, do we need to add a frost lid and a second lid? Do we need to add extra insulation? Or let's go ahead and touch every meter and do that to prevent that, any challenges from the first part.
Yeah, so that was one of my questions, is about the use of the already installed meter kits, because they have all of that. And some of them have like little homemade hats inside because they're prone to freezing. Some people still drop light bulbs in there. Are you happy to work with meter kits that have been already installed, or what? How do you feel about that? Tell me about that.
Look at this, the meter pit needs to be about a coffee can. Right?
Right.
But you still have, is there a depth that needs to be set down?
So we'll go through, like, the answer is yes. Like, we'll work with our vendors and the utility department to make the best decision at that. Like, we're not gonna hold a hard line to say you have to do something different at this point. Our goal is to maximize the performance and to reduce any worry that it's not going to perform. So I don't think we want to use too creative a ways on the meters. So if there's a way for us at the point of changing them out to add some additional insulation or other things that can prevent problems.
That's a standard that's gonna fit in the yolks that we already have. Jameson just answered that question, thank you.
So Henry, Angel Fire is 8,882 feet, so it's very similar here. So, just letting you know.
So how deep can your little antenna send? I mean, how deep in the ground?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I think we've estimated a few antenna replacements on this as well. That has a removable antenna. So what we're gonna be doing is teaching the read system to collect the data. And if we're not getting a read for one reason or another, we'll add an external antenna to that and we'll build that in. Because our goal is to get north of 98% reads regularly at any moment. And most of our systems are already at that pretty quick amount of time.
Yeah, 98, and I probably shouldn't say this, we do have a few that are at 100% read rate. They do, Camstrup manufactures a kit antenna. It's more or less, it's a range extender because it doesn't have a battery or serial number. So just as Ryan mentioned, that antenna comes off, and then the pit antenna, you drill an 1 3/4 hole with a meter can lid, and it has a little black mushroom on it. You just slide that through. runs down the meter and plugs into the meter. And all that does is it allows that radio signal to escape out of the meter can. So here your meter cans are gonna be fairly deep. We recommend that the meter itself be below frost level, frost line depth. That can be very challenging, we understand.
Yeah.
So,
6 feet.
yeah, so, you know, like in Angel Fire, we're using quite a few of the range extenders or pit antennas, just for that reason, because they do have some that are up to 12 foot in depth, they're really deep. Also, we're a distributor for AY McDonald, and they do make a custom meter can that's specifically designed for mountain communities. And, you know, that is something that we can, you know, offer and send you the information on, if that's something you're interested in. Sometimes some of your older cans, maybe they use corrugated pipe, they don't have the frost lid. With these, we can supply the can, it's got all the brass, you can set a PRV alongside with the meter. Then we can provide you with the frame, and have a frost-proof lid, and then on top of that, it has another lid. Yes, sir.
I have a few questions. So if we have inventory and stuff that's been working for years, or there are meter pits and lids like that, could we still use those until, you know, that we can get a feel for y'all's prices versus what we currently cost us? And would our guys be able to install those, or does it have to be y'all's guys, y'all's third party or vendors?
So those are great questions. So, I mean, particularly on like the lids and if there's pits out there, I mean, for us, it's about replacing the meter, right? So whatever it means to achieve that replacement and to maximize the performance of that. So if there's inventory out there that can be deployed, that's gonna achieve the same performance, we don't need to consider something else, yeah, we can utilize it, that's not a problem. We just wanna make sure that we are maximizing, that we're getting the best performance of that we're not putting the meter performance at risk as it relates to that. On the installation side, I mean, the answer is yes. You know, we don't have to use our installers, but for speed and then liability purposes, we recommend using a third-party installer on that, because we want them to be responsible for that installation. If anything were to happen to it, we can hold them accountable for
Do
it.
they have extra certifications for the product? Or anything extra that our guys wouldn't have? That would,
I don't know, that's a
It's
question.
hard to track down third-party installers and anything else third-party.
and would y'all's vendors, would y'all be looking to try to find some here, or just everything be outsourced?
So it just depends. We have an installer that we've engaged on this one. They've done a lot of our projects for us, and they've done several projects in Colorado. They're a national firm that we have a contract with, but they can hire local to do the work under that contract, right? So that's how we can ask them to do that, because these big firms, they're everywhere, so that when they have to engage with folks, they'll look at the regional area. I would certainly want somebody that has worked on projects in Colorado or understands the environments and the conditions here. They'll be responsible for all the certifications that's necessary for the installation.
Now, as far as like the ROI on it, is it typically eventually save like municipalities or towns money that covers up for the cost throughout the years? Or is it a net negative?
So what we've seen with our system is it's always a net positive. Now, we're not an ESCO, we're not guaranteeing that, but just by the nature of the way that the systems work, it just tends to work out that way. And so, we can run those calculations and monitor that, like and that's what we tend to, we don't ask communities to tell us what they're saving. The ones that don't tell us anything are probably doing really well because they don't want us to know that. But but the reality is like when you just run the raw numbers on what you see, and I just had my meter replaced in my house too, and you can see the differential in that more than covers the cost, the monthly usage rates on these, and anything extra in that tends to get just absorbed, because what we're doing is creating an operational cost out of this, so it just becomes in the same line item rather than pulling it from a capital budget.
So as far as repair and maintenance goes, it is really hard to get people up here for
Yeah.
just about anything. Are we able to do that ourselves?
That's a great question. So that was my follow-on to that. Like on the initial install, we like to get third party on there. But for the ongoing maintenance, it's typically a lot easier to just do it local. And what a lot of our customers do, we'll keep a few extra meters on the shelf just in case something happens. Right, we'll just provide those to them to have that there, and you can just swap it out. That way you don't even have to wait the shipping cost to get it up here. But you'll have a point of contact that'll be monitoring the performance of that over time, and then we'll just create the most efficient way to do it. We'll send a third-party installer out to do it if there's like a whole bunch more second phase they want to do, or a new development got built or something of that nature. But typically during the ongoing maintenance care, the utilities are performing itself because it's usually just one-offs.
Another question.
Where's the product made?
So Aaron, we've done a lot of these, yeah. Georgia.
Yeah, so Cummings, Georgia is where their factory is.
Okay. And to communicate with it, we'll be using current cell towers or setting up.
We'll be putting up our own collectors, software, and they've got.
And what do they run? 3G, 5G?
So with the collector, they can be backhauled either through cellular or through internet. So if you already have internet, some of our customers already have internet at their water tanks because it's data. They'll just backhaul through that existing internet connection. If that's not possible, then we backhaul typically with just cellular. So
And is it 3G or 5G? You have a choice.
it connects to either technology. So it's not specific to one technology. And the modem, the cellular modem, is separate from the collector. So should the modem technology ever be phased out, which we know some companies tend to do that, we can just swap it out.
And that's part of the service aspect of it. If something becomes obsolete, then it's our responsibility to replace it so that it's back up and running, as opposed to just saying, well, sorry.
As long as you're in charge, before or if we buy out the infrastructure, as you were talking earlier, so if after we buy out the infrastructure or whatever, then you would no longer be responsible for replacing, you would?
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, we would no longer. Yeah. And any residual maintenance reserves for that time would be returned to you at the point of termination.
Thank you, sorry. Sorry, Dave.
Justin Brooks?
Yep. I guess I missed it, but are we gonna have to replace the meter pits, or do these go into existing meter pits?
It's a great question. So typically, we would just swap these out with the way the pits are. The comment is really, if for some reason that pit is insufficient or needs to be replaced, we can include that in the scope if needed. The best case scenario is every pit is already what we need it to do, and we'll just quickly go out and pop this in to where that is. But we know the reality is just not typically that way when we start to get out there, and that's sort of that due diligence phase where we come back and actually have somebody come up and look at cans.
Before we sign the contract.
Yeah, before there's a notice to proceed, we'll do the due diligence, like let's take a peek in the can, let's start figuring out what some of these other conditions are and come back and report.
What about, that's,
Yeah, just to give some background too, is that we believe that more than half, somewhere between 50 and 70% of our system has the old brass meters, which have exceeded their useful life. And we believe that some of them they're not actually recording all usage. And we even found about 20 of them recently that ceased working altogether. So there's a big need for us to replace like the majority of the meters on our system. And so the return on investment would probably be very immediately noticed with just how the water usage was being recorded, and then also with the detection of leaks, because we're definitely pumping more than we're selling, or more than that's coming into the plant. So we do believe that there's a lot of inefficiencies in our system where something like this would actually help us reduce operational costs and actually help us record the proper usage and bill appropriately for that usage. Just wanted to put that out there for everybody.
Jameson?
Yeah, I was gonna talk, that's kind of the reason why Alex asked me to be here, about, I was kind of the one that started this whole thing, was why the overhaul needed to happen. I mean, we started looking at these meters, we found 20 that are just haven't been working for years now. Like I said, I think we're closer to 70% of the meters are brass and are getting close or past their useful life. So we're really hitting those marks, but when you look at our numbers, we got like 2 million coming into the plant, but we're pumping 15 million per month. And that's, I think that was last month. In July, sometimes it's higher than that. So with the leak detection, all of this, we may not be able to, or we might be able to actually, instead of always continuously trying to keep these costs up, we can throw that money and know where to put our capital improvement reserves. Because right now, we have a couple projects that we had done, but we don't know exactly what lines need to take priority in replacing. So I think it's a real good tool for us as a municipality to find where they need to go and put our monies, our reserves that we are saving for capital improvements to good use. And then, from there could be leaks on service lines, and then just really helping the customer. This is a more robust system. So kind of our system now, it should be pretty plug and play. I'd say about 90% of our pits are fine. I've been working with Nick, showing him our pits. There's gonna be a few oddballs, which there always will be. But it will give the customers more control, more power, be able to see what they're doing, the occasional find leaks, find things in real time. I mean, I can tell you horror stories about finding houses that have been flooding for 2 months. Where we can find that in real time, really protect our customer base, protect everybody, and then find and fix leaks. And that has been my goal when I was director, was find and fix. And so we can fix these leaks. We have a tight system. We cut our overhead down on chemicals, chlorine, polyoctophosphate, cut our electricity in half, and I would say, as a municipality as a whole, I think that is huge. And, we might have to spend a little bit more on repairs for the first year or two, but ultimately it's a better, more robust system. These current meters, they're trash, and they freeze, they're trash, you throw them away. They still work, they leak, they cost customers money, and they don't do any of the bells and whistles. They don't have any alarms. And we're ultimately trying to switch to monthly billing is kind of the goal. If we did that with our current system, it was gonna cost us something like $800,000 if only 50% of our meters are brass. But if we wanna switch everything back to the plastic and put an MXU and all that, we're gonna have to overhaul anyways. Even if we did that alone, if we stick with our current metering system, is gonna cost us more money than if we switch at this one time, which that's a rarity. And usually switching costs more money, but I don't think that that's the case in this scenario.
All right.
Just one final thing. I've been looking at this literature for a while now. Jameson slipped me a copy early, and I am very, very excited. As former Public Works Director, I cannot think of anything other than the capital improvements we're making on our water and wastewater systems themselves. This is very exciting and very versatile. So that's my endorsement, thank you.
To build more on what Jameson was saying, this helps the customer in a lot of ways. There was one year Jameson had said he fixed 64 frozen meters.
Yeah, it was there.
And this would almost eliminate that altogether. And then there are multiple people every year that leave dump valves open consistently every year. And we would be able to catch those within a day instead of them having a 1 million gallon leak and only find out 2 months down the road.
All right, well, definitely something for the town to consider. I really appreciate you guys taking your time. Sounds like it's moving into the 21st century. We're a very small town. One of the things, water and sewer rates are very sensitive subjects at the moment. We've been through a lot of it. And, but no, it sounds like a neat system. I'd like to have a staff do some more time on that. And it does how we'd be doing a lot right now since we're going into winter. But how many customers are there in India?
The system there is around 2,200. But similar to here, if I understand it, like they have a lot of seasonal residents as well. And so in addition to just being able to capture additional revenue and provide additional data on the utility side. It's helping the residents out there that are part-time because they can monitor for leaks when they're not there. Right, and they understand with it, because that's, nothing worse than coming up after being away for 6 months and finding that you got a $1,000 water bill because you had a leak.
Yeah.
Well, and just to confirm, I think Jameson had mentioned it can even tell you whether or not it's dry, correct?
That's correct.
You know, so when people are actually winterizing their house, it'll actually confirm whether or not it is completely dry. You know, so that's the thing, you know, making sure there's no water to even give it the potential to freeze in the winter time.
Yeah, some of the alarms that it provides is a dry pipe, tamper, backflow, which is very important, low temperature, high temperature, leak, pipe burst, as well as low battery, and any type of malfunction with the meter itself. So it's been provided with a lot of different alarms. We can also, in the advanced analytics in the customer portal, we can customize and add additional alarms that the analytics software is able to generate on its own.
And most of this, I would be able to, in the office, be monitoring and looking at all this. So it would save the guys that extra day and a half of, you know, going around and doing these physical meter reads, and yeah, it'd be a lot more efficient.
And there's multiple eyes on that, right? It's not just the customer that's looking at that, or the utility. You know, we've got our partners that are looking at that for performance as well. One of my fun favorite stories with Aaron is we got a call from one of our customers in eastern New Mexico. And they were saying, well, there's a customer out there that's, you know, one of the residents that's complaining that they've got a higher bill or whatnot. And Aaron and his team went back in and looked at the data usage, estimated the number of gallons per hour that were going out. It's like, it's probably a garden hose. Tell them to check their garden hose. And sure enough, they just went out there and realized that they had. I mean, it's like from hundreds of miles away, just from looking at the data, can identify that and troubleshoot that. It's just really remarkable.
Did Jameson?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got this down to a day and a half for our read, me and Ethan. I did a day once. But there was times we got that 2019 with all that snow. It took me 5 days to do the read. And I can do it in one usually. And I mean, it's knowing where the pits were. I mean, it was a lot of work, and I was rode hard and put up wet. Like every day, it was the hardest read I've ever done. And I mean, that's why we will do this bi-monthly billing is we can't have the manpower and the force to do that. The other thing I wanted to touch on is if we stick with our current system and we have to overhaul all these meters, it is those guys. It's the two guys doing the meter, switching out every meter. You know, they might be able to hire an installer to help with that, but I mean, it's just, this is such a better system, and I have done a lot of research. I looked at other Neptune, I've looked at all these, and this is kind of where I landed. You know, feel free to do your own research, but you know, it's always been quality over quantity. When we had all those meters that froze, I mean, you're out there in 20 below swapping meters. It is not fun. And then, you know, it's not fun when you have to give the customer a bill for $230. Here's your new meter bill, you know, just to pay for the meter itself, not even counting the water. So, I mean, that was one of the worst winters I ever had. And, you know, I really think that being able to catch that before it freezes, you could throw a light bulb in there if you had to, and crisis averted. You know, we have our methods to keep things from freezing. And I think that moving forward, that's something that's got to change, and we need to have eyes on things. You know, I think they can really help.
All right. Well, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, and we're gonna wrap this up. Jesse, you have something?
Projected lifespan.
20 plus years.
20 plus years. We amortize the cost over a 25-year period for the meter itself. And to Jameson's point, so we're looking at total cost of ownership here. So we think it's the best meter out there, and we're putting our money behind it because we're extending that cost over it. We could look at other meters, but then we're thinking we're replacing it every 10 to 12 years, which means ultimately, even if it's a cheaper meter, it's a higher cost for us because we're having to replace two meters twice versus just one. So we've got a high amount of confidence in this meter. That's not me saying, that's our investors, right? They're the ones that are putting the money up on it.
Amy, we'll wrap up.
Is there any way we could get a couple put in and see if we'll make it through the winter?
Yeah, we can hear that, yeah. Yeah, we can send you 2 meters, no problem.
So we talked about doing that, the only problem with that is these things are sensors, so, you know, it's kind of like, I hate to say not all or nothing, but like, you kind of want them grouped together, because they're not gonna do that leak detection, or you're not gonna get the true benefit from it if you don't have multiples in there listening.
Yeah, and that's a good point, you know, a lot of the software and the deployment costs, are, right, it's expensive, so really, when you do a full deployment, then we invest all of that time and labor into the deployment, aspect of the project, so there's quite a bit that goes into it, the customer portal, the leak detection software, the AMI, what we call the meter data management system. You can now just put a meter in the ground and read it manually, but you're not gonna see any of the benefits of the alarms and whatnot.
It should do as good as the classic ones we have.
Better, this stuff's made out of the same stuff as block, like the pistol
Gotcha.
company.
Yeah,
If they're surviving angel fire, they'll survive here.
They're a fiber composite, so they have a 2100 PSI burst strength. So they have the highest operating pressure of any meter in the market. So their approved pressure rating is 250 PSI per watt, which is incredibly high. Most meters are 150 PSI, some are 125 PSI. So they're over-engineered. The Danish, they like to over-engineer stuff.
I mean, the pipe going into this, 80 PSI, so.
Yeah, right, and the stainless steel meters, they're made out of 316 stainless steel, so it's 1 inch and larger, all the way to 12 inch, or 316 stainless steel, and they're way over engineered. We passed Amstrad, we cut back on some of the stainless, and maybe save on some cost, but they won't compromise.
That's a good thing. Well, I personally really appreciate you guys taking the time to come in, give us a presentation, the information, we looked it over, worked with staff. And, I like to keep things light, and I'm kind of upset that mine isn't one of the brass meters that hasn't been charging for the last.
Right.
I pay my share.
We'll change your meter last.
No, I think the demo should go to my house. I'm kidding. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, trustee.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yes, you're welcome to leave unless you want to hear about the playground.
Are you driving back now?
Of what?
Are
Oh,
you
just
driving home
a
now?
couple of.
Ethan,
Tonight and then hit a lot of places tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you for.
All right, our next item on the workshop is to discuss the town park playground. I did get to go over the information that was provided to us. Actually, I guess, grant writer, what you're saying. I know what happened, where.
I know, it's schizophrenic, occupational.
Times minute, yeah.
I am wearing my dirt hat
Okay.
/ grant writer hat. So I think Lex sent you guys, our update on the playground, financials right now. So what we wanted to do was figure out what is the cash we have in hand. So the document that I sent you, we've raised $144,860 towards the playground. That was prior to last night's award by the Lake Fork Community Foundation, so that's another $2,500. That leaves us with a gap of $92,000. We have some outstanding grants, so I wanted to run through those. And Shoots Foundation, they did a site visit in September. We had asked them for $12,000. They generally award around $7,500, so that's what we're penciling in there and what we're anticipating. We also have our GOA mini grants that are $15,000 a year. We had been approved to use all 5 of our years for one project, which is what the dirt board wanted to do, which is what the town wanted to do. But that currently is on hold because of state financial concerns. So right now, we're only able to use a year at a time, so that one I'm not excited about, but just so you know, that could change. As I mentioned, the Lake Fork, we submitted the San Juan Solstice Fund, we did submit a second playground grant for that. The Women's Club has encouraged us to apply for a second grant. The Endowment Fund will not consider the playground a project, they have to fund public health initiatives, so felt like the playground was not. That's news, we just got that email. And then we have a campaign to really bring in more private dollars over the next few months. So October, November, December, we have a sort of drop dead date of December 15th. We'd like to really fundraise through the holiday season for the playground. You can see from the list, we are super excited about the Trujillo contribution of $50,000. We have been successful with El Camar, with the DOLA grant, with Lake Fork and the Solstice, with the Gates Family Foundation grant. We've raised $7,500 in private contributions, and then a number of our organizations have put in funds, so you can see all of that cash right there. We've put a QR code in the playground that was up throughout the summer months. We have had about 10 different contributions from that, ranging from $10 to $1,500. So like the gamut of happy users in the park. So we wanted to just give you that update first in the beginning. I have talked with Lex a little bit about possibly an additional town of Lake City contribution for next year. So you could think about that and talk about that during your budget process, which I know you guys are in the midst of. Lex, do you want to talk a little bit about that? The numbers that we've talked about?
In terms of filling the gap.
Correct.
Yeah. There is, I got to look at the Conservation Trust Fund, but there should be about $10,000 or so in there that we could use. And then we have probably another 20. Well, actually, we did spend the money that we had set aside already for the down payment for the playground. So we could possibly budget, we could probably get, have a match of like 30 or 40 grand. We can make that work. But it's something I'm definitely keeping in mind as I develop the general fund budget.
So just knowing that, amount, we would just, ask you guys to consider that as we continue to try to fund all of the rest of that gap. We might not need that, but we want to know that that's possible.
It's great what the Trujillo County is doing. I know there was some talk that I don't know if I'm missing anything, but they were gonna be filling for more funding from kind of friends and family.
Yeah.
Has that started?
The goal was really Thanksgiving to kick that off.
Okay.
If any of you have talked to Brian about this project, he just exudes excitement about it, and so I know that I looked at a draft of his donation agreement. That's the wrong term, you might have it too. And we wanted to add Dirt as a signatory to that, so that we also agree, this donation will go straight to the town. I think he wanted to get some of those documents in place before he really kicks off the fundraising. He did ask the Civil World permission to use the article that was in the paper, which was an excellent article from David Lindsay. Well done, hit just the right tone. So he has those pieces, and we're just sort of ready to really kick in the kind of the holiday giving piece. I mentioned it to the Lake Fork Community Foundation last night. We'll have a line item in the annual giving letter like we did last year. I'm very confident that we'll be able to fill this gap. If we get to December 15th and we're still short to where we're uncomfortable with the gap, we can look at that play structure and we could back off maybe some of the items in there. We could put off the Orbitron, which is like a merry-go-round for your arms. We could,
That was so good.
we could do the swing set maybe the next year instead. I mean, our goal would be to do it all at once, and that's what we would like to do. But the reality is, money is a little tight. We've had more no's on grants than I ever like to see. Which, I think, I don't know that I included it for you guys in this, but I think we've had 6 or 7 denied grant applications, which,
Yeah, you could.
it happens, but I certainly don't like it.
I know the town's in support of it, it's a town park, and we'll just have to, as we go through our budget process, see where we stand, and do what we can do, and in the meantime, hope and pray, so we get a lot more contributions, and that gap gets filled.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. We also, I'm not I need to look at the paperwork. We do anticipate that once you and Dirk and the Trujillo family sign that agreement, then he will process his donation to us. Following that, we'll go ahead and make the rest of the down payment onto this bill. At some point, like that might need to come back to you guys for, as an agenda item to acknowledge, yep, we've already plunked down 42,050, we're gonna plunk down another, whatever it is, 50 or more, because we don't wanna like lose our spot in line for the install of the program as well. We also don't wanna fully pay it until it's installed, right? So kind of that, balance, which gives us a small amount of time.
All right, so I hope that gap fills, as we work.
So what will happen to the old playground equipment? Will it just be taken to the landfill or can that be recycled in plastic recycling?
Well, the previous piece, the yellow and red was the one that was more broken. And that one, we did not feel that there was any use on that and it was not recyclable plastic. This one, there's been talk, I think at the site visit, someone remind me, we talked about maybe seeing if there's any private individual who wants it, and it, you do have a big piece of property.
Why does it need
So that might be an option, that there is some life in it still, not maybe for commercial use, like what we want to see, but there might be a private individual who wants that. But it's that, I don't know that it's recycled, plastic.
I just hate to see more plastic going in there.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'll take care of it. I'll take it.
Your house?
Yeah, why not?
You're gonna get stuck in that slide.
I'm gonna take the cookie and my responsibility. Well, appreciate the update and appreciate all your hard work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, our next item is discuss the November 2025 election ballot, 1A lodging tax question with Willie Burton.
Hello, how's it going? Well, good, glad I came to this meeting to learn about my playground.
And your laundry.
All the things you learned. Thank you for having us tonight. This is the third time I've come to the town about 1A, ballot question 1A, which is a 4% increase on lodging tax that will be on your ballots this November 4th, so for less than 4 weeks now. Our campaign committee has been reaching out to stakeholders who invest in these entities, support these entities, and are a part of the entities or just our community and have investment in our community. The lodging tax increase, currently 2% of lodging tax goes to marketing and advertising of tourism in Hinsdale County. And the 4% increase would go 1% to search and rescue, 1% to early childhood, and 2% to EMS. Since 2022, 6 Colorado counties have increased lodging tax, and currently this November, 8 counties are going for a lodging tax increase. So it's definitely a movement and a priority for all communities to find funding to support their year-round essential services. This lodging tax paid by visitors helps support year-round essential services that support expected, safe, high quality, and reliable care to residents and visitors. We wanted to come tonight to see if we could answer any questions and just to update you on how things landed. I think it became September 2024 and January as well, and things have gone lots of different directions, but we're really excited to see what the future holds. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have any.
Chicken.
I don't, it's in the hands of the voters, so see how it comes out.
That was well presented. Will you please, I'm sorry to interrupt. How many organizations, entities, political entities, counties, I guess, all counties, have already done this, and how many more are going for it?
6 have done it since 2022, because the cap was 2% statewide in counties.
Yeah.
And 8 are currently going for it this November.
Interesting. And of the 6 that did it, did everyone go for it? Everyone was like, yeah, that's a great idea?
Those are the 6, I guess, that passed.
Right. Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't have the data on it.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because, I'm all
6
up
were
in this.
supported.
Question, so,
Please, yeah, I love it. I'm happy to send you that too.
no, that's interesting. I just haven't see that. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, sitting through commissioners meetings, and heard how it's being divided up and all that, so. And it's also discussed.
Well, thanks for
All
following.
right, well, we appreciate you coming and that thing. See how it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lily.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, our next item is to discuss the draft 2026 budget, with focus on the water and sewer budget and 2026 water and sewer rates. Lex?
Okay, so you'll have a budget packet on your agendas. We've Jameson and Ethan and I have gone over the water and sewer budget. And really that I had to present a draft budget to you guys by today. It's really only the water and sewer fund budget that's really been developed. So if you would turn to the water and sewer fund budget, which starts on page, I thought it was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, on page 7.
Page 7?
Yes.
It's also on a hard copy, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I think he's talking about.
Yeah, so water and
It's
sewer
pages
starts
so
here.
tiny.
So there's-
Oh.
and then we'll go into it.
Me neither.
Is yellow stuff has changed?
I was about to
Is
start
yellow
counting.
stuff has changed?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah.
back down page 7.
And dirt.
Okay.
And let's just to confirm, all the yellow stuff would be the changes that are proposed, correct?
If it in the 2026 column, which is the far right column, that column, if it's highlighted and it's green, it means it's increasing. If it's red, it's decreasing. In the column to the left, which is the 2025 estimated or year to date, if it's orange, then it's year to date, and if it's yellow, it's estimated. So just let's just focus on the far right column, which is the 2026 proposed. And really, before we get into revenues, we're going to get into the rates here in a second. But what I'm thinking is that Sorry, my mind is not clear. Let's actually go to the next page. Let's get past the revenues here, and we'll circle back to that when we talk about the rates. Under on page 8, we have like an increase in a little bit of an increase in the chemicals, and that's because the AquaSmart chemicals was increased, but we did save money on the chlorine from Jameson finding a new vendor. And electricity, we do expect that to increase quite a bit, or at least to some degree, with the peak demand GCA rates that are going to go into effect next year. Again, that's a place where we could save money if our wells were not pumping all the time. If we were able to locate and fix the leaks in our system, it would reduce the amount of water that we're actually treating and pumping, and thus also reduce the cost of our chemicals and our electricity. I want to put that out there.
And the wear and tear on the pumps.
And the wear and tear on the pumps, correct. Let's see. Under the water distribution program, which is a little bit further down on page 8, well, I do have $20,000 in there under repair and maintenance, or under professional services for the water distribution. I have $20,000 there for like possibly a water station engineering match, or for possible engineering costs related to the water station that we want to build. They're off of Henson Street somewhere. So I just wanted to point that out because that's there as a placeholder in case because I think that we really need to get the water station done next year. We've had a lot of people in Lake City Heights, elsewhere, whose wells have gone dry or they're going dry in the fall, and they've been asking to buy bulk water. And not only that, we have the RVs that come in the summer that ask about water. And so it's definitely a big need of our community. And then under repair and maintenance services, we have another 20 grand there. That's for the water tanking inspection and repairs. We thought we were going to have to do that this year, but it was actually, we could wait another year before we got it done. We didn't spend it this year, but it's budgeted for next year. Do you have any questions about that?
Me and Willie actually were talking about the repair and maintenance. We have a couple fire hydrants and a few valves that also need to be replaced. We haven't looked at costs in those just yet, but we were gonna look at that this week.
Okay. Yeah, this is just the rough first draft of it, but that's fine. Ethan, give me cost estimates on that, and we can see. We probably have some money already in the capital savings accounts that we can apply to that, which we can get to here in a minute. But that's good to know. Thank you, Ethan. On the next page under wastewater treatment plant program, we are expecting to spend a little bit more on chemicals for the wastewater treatment plant, the new one, because we'll be adding alkalinity to the plant. So we have increased that budget from $10,000 to $15,000. And again, the electric power, we had budgeted $45,000 this year, thinking that the plant would have been done by now. But I bumped that up a couple grand as well, just to make room for, again, the GCA high demand rate, since the blowers are going to be going pretty much all the time. And they use a lot of electricity.
Well, hopefully costs go down because we won't have to pump as much with the new meters.
Yeah, that would be on the water side, correct?
It'd be in a while, but yeah.
If we went with that, and I'll speak more to that when we come to the rates.
Okay.
And let's see. So yeah, so everything in red is where we've actually reduced the budget. And in some of the green, there's a little extra room in there just in case, because we don't really know what's going to happen next year. Some of our software subscriptions, we don't get a notice of it increasing in cost until 30 or 60 days before it renews. And so we won't know those new costs until 30 or 60 days before it renews. The we did reduce the cost of the telephone and internet at the wastewater treatment plant. And let's see. Yeah, the actual property casualty insurance for the plant is going up because of new equipment and stuff in there. It's based on the value, so that's why under insurance, it's going up from about $8,800 to $11,800. So then under the water and sewer capital improvements expenses, there we actually have there in green. What that is that's the total set aside plus what 2026 contributions we would be making, which this is tentative. It's going to be the same as we did this year. I have it as us, at least with the proposed rates I'm about to show you, I'm having us putting back 85,000 again, for in our capital savings for capital projects. RCAC did recommend that we really, if we implemented their full rates, which were pretty high, that was so that we were putting in 165,000 a year into the capital savings in order to have a fully funded capital savings account in like 5 years. But currently we're putting in 85,000. So, did y'all have any questions on any of that? I know I kind of burned through it.
So where was that 85,000?
It's on page.
Yeah, the 85,000 is there on page 10 and 11. There on the right in yellow, it says transfer to capital savings 2026.
Yeah.
So, and then so that's the total that we'd be setting aside would be 85,000, and there on the right in yellow is where what we're adding to the capital savings for each of those.
Yeah, I just wish we knew about these cheap rate increases when we were negotiating our agreement with TCPS.
Well, yeah. If you go to, okay, so, and I guess I put these in the wrong order, but if you go to the very, like after you get past the budget, there's the operating budget for the water and sewer fund, which, I haven't got the final numbers. This was all estimated, but it's pretty close. So one of the great things that's happened is that we were having to come up with $23,296 in an additional revenue to set aside for the rate covenants of our loans. However, our Colo Trust Water and Sewer Fund account has exceeded the total amount that we had to set aside for 10 years for all the loans. So in other words, we've already come up with all the money to pay the final payment on all of our loans this year. So that's $23,296 less that we have to come up with next year. We're going to be putting that into, it'll be divvied up into other costs, or it's just less revenue that we have to come up with. So that's really helping us control how much we're going to need to increase our rates in the sewer, at least in the sewer rates, and mostly in the sewer rates. And then 2026, that is based on the next page, which I have the proposed rate structure. And this is a proposed, like in the water, it would be just a flat 3% increase across the board. Now, if we did do the sustainability partners proposal with the new meters, that would come out to about, like, after the other monthly subscription costs that we would need to divide out amongst all the users as well. And with our own 3% increase, that would actually bring our water and sewer rates to about $59.70. If we were using that original number they gave us, where it doesn't increase on its own over every year by 2%, but like it's the full amount. So that would actually bring, if we did go with the sustainability partners and we increased it by 3% for our own inflationary costs, that would bring the rates to about $59.70 per month. And without the sustainability partner metering system, it would be $48.40 for in town for single family residents, and $58.20 for county single family residents. So that gives you an idea. What?
So if we went with them, it's adding $10 a month.
Yeah, roughly 11. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
47.
Well, or with our 3%, our 3% is the 48.40, and then with theirs it would go to about 59.70. So it would actually be like 11,
Okay.
yeah, $12. And so like comparatively, since we've had to take out loans for the wastewater treatment plant, I mean, you can see that if like, I can see where they're getting their numbers from. I do think that once you amortize what they said, we are paying something like 1.83 million for that water metering system over time. And staff has received a cost estimate for that metering system for just the equipment. And I believe, Christina,
It was like 417,000 or so.
Yeah. Yeah. So the equipment alone was 417,000. And we're waiting on we're waiting to get a cost estimate from an installer to see how much they would charge us to install it. And then, which we suspect is going to come under like $1 million. So one of the things, if we're interested in this metering system and we don't want to go with the sustainability partners proposal, then maybe we can go after some grant funding next year, because there is water conservation money out there. And maybe we can go after grant funding and try to get it mostly paid with grant money with some match money, and then hopefully not have to take a low interest loan. But if we did have to take a low interest loan, again, we're coming back to something that, is going to be around $50 to $60, or it was going to add $10 to $12 to the rates anyway if we took out a loan. So, but if we could get a lot of free grant money, then that could lower that loan amount, so that it lowers the amount of debt service that we have to pay. So that was just something else that we've been thinking about. I don't have all the numbers for that yet, but that might be an alternative to the sustainability partners proposal, is us actually going after the funding ourselves and buying the equipment ourselves and hiring someone to install it. We really do think we'll save a lot of money with that new system in the long run. The return on investment I bet, like with surety, that we would actually start bringing in more revenues, and our operating costs would come down with that new system.
Well, is there any reason some of those grant funds can't be used to work with them? I keep seeing more water grants coming out for conservation.
Right. So with Resource Wise, the guys that actually provide the meters, or that are the distributors for them, we definitely could. I mean, we could just buy the equipment straight from them, and even they're the ones trying to find some cost estimates for us from installers that they know. So we could just interact directly with Resource Wise and whatever third party that would install it, and pay them with the grant money. However, sustainability partners is not, they fund these programs. I don't think we would be able to use it with them.
I got you. That was they're doing the financing. James?
So, I mean, I don't know exactly if it could play out like this, but one of the ideas that I was thinking is maybe you get this system, you help them, they get up here, they iron out the kinks, it's month to month, and then you buy it outright. And maybe we can find grant money for that purpose, so that you can still implement it, get it deployed, and then still come in and still buy out the system.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the full 25 years.
Right.
But it all is if we would then be eligible for grant money to pay for that system, buy it outright.
I think it's smart to look at all the options.
Yeah. So anyway, so with the sewer rates, what if you turn to the next and last page, I have a breakdown of in the last page, there's a spreadsheet, and
The very last page.
Yeah, the very back. Because this will give you the rates that are on that other page too, but it shows, it compares it to what RCAC, the Rural Community Assistance Corporation, had recommended to us last year. And it compares what they recommended to what we actually did in 2025. And then what staff had recommended last year about kind of implementing those increases step by step. And last year I was saying that I wanted for us to try to reduce costs, which we have in many ways. We reduced costs by by 10 to 20 grand, and then with the rate covenant, probably 30 or 40 grand. However, and that if at all possible, I didn't want to do the full rate too much too fast, especially with how expensive everything's becoming here, and with our seasonal economy and the burden that it would place on our businesses. And our citizens. But in this, on the bottom section where it says sewer 2026 proposed, and this isn't really us, it's us kind of just breaking even and being able to accomplish some things and still put $85,000 back in the capital savings. But the 2026 plan, you can see where that was what we were proposing last year, what we would increase it to. But then on the right in yellow is what I'm proposing. And that would be pretty much a 3% increase for the base rates, mostly except for the commercial high strength and the commercial high strength in town and county, and then the RV park per spot. And then also with the multi-unit, RCAC had recommended that we charge 100%, like we would charge the base rate per each unit in a multi-unit complex. Last year we were discussing this, and that would really make what little affordable housing here that exists here not all that affordable anymore if we're charging the 100% surcharge per multi-unit per unit in a multi-unit complex. And in the plan last year, we were talking about we go do 25% per additional unit this year, and then 35% next year, and then 45% and cap it at that next year, or in 2028. And but what I'm proposing is that we actually only increase it from 25 to 30% next year for the multi-unit, so that it's a smaller increase, and because I believe we can make the budget work without having to increase it that much. Did y'all have, I'm sorry I'm going through this so fast. I really don't feel good. And do y'all have any questions on any of this?
No, we can probably look at it at our budget meetings, right?
Well, and
Yeah.
I think the town's done a good job of, even though we had to go through those rate increases, has done a good job of being as fair as possible compared to what we were instructed. And if we had just gone with what the rate study stated, bam. So my hat's off for the job you guys have done, and I also think that's great news by investing that money. And we have reserves there for all what we had to have for those loads. And good job, staff.
Yeah, and also I just found out yesterday that we received the grant application we put in for the natural disaster mitigation enterprise at the state level for the wastewater treatment plant backup generator. We actually were awarded the $250,000 for that, and that was with no match. So we just got $250 grand of free money for the wastewater treatment plant backup generator.
Nice. Very good.
That's pretty awesome job on the application. It was not easy.
Very good.
Right
I
on.
know. That's much appreciated as well. All right, does anybody have questions for Lex? I appreciate you putting this together. It doesn't look like anything earth shattering, but you're being as fair as you can. Keep it running. Any questions for Lex?
No, that's really good. That's a nice.
And I would like for us to schedule a budget workshop before the end of the month, hopefully in a week or two at most, in the next couple of weeks rather, so that we can really nail down what the water and sewer rates are gonna be, and then to go over the budget some more. Cause the plan is that if we can determine what the water and sewer rates will be for next year, we can, I'll do the October newsletter and have it be all about water and sewer rates for next year, as well as put a notice in with the October 31st billing, so that we're giving people, we're giving people 2 more months notice than we did last year, because a lot of these things were kind of last minute last year.
Yeah, that's coming up on our agenda.
Yep. Yes, sir.
In the meantime, one more thing. Before discussing a scheduling a workshop is to discuss the resolution 2025-10, 2025 budget amendment.
Yep. So what this is, so all this is doing is some housekeeping. Since we dissolved the combined capital improvements fund and separated that into a water and sewer capital savings account and a general fund savings account. What this does is reallocate that money from the capital improvements fund back into the general fund and water and sewer fund, but within these savings accounts. So this is just an accounting housekeeping thing.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, and that's a action item this evening.
And and here in a bit, we're going to need to also do some another budget amendment for some of these grant funds that we received, that I had budgeted for in the capital improvements fund, but we haven't received it yet. So that'll be another budget amendment where we're appropriating those unexpected revenues from those grant monies. But that's for a future meeting.
Okay, any trustees have any questions about the resolution?
No.
Hearing none, then we will move on to our final workshop item, is discuss scheduling of a budget workshop.
Yeah, I don't know, like for the next 2 weeks, we don't have a regular trustee meeting.
Here's a calendar.
Do you wanna just do it as if there was a third meeting this month?
Yeah, I didn't know if the 22nd or 29th worked better for you guys.
I can't do that kind of thing.
This would be, so we're here the 15th, we'd have the 22nd or the 29th. Our next regular meeting won't be until November 5th. So the 22nd or the 29th would be a typical Wednesday.
As far as my work schedule, I'll be out of town every week, midweek. I mean, I could probably Zoom to join in the budget, but anything from, I was lucky enough to come home this week, or yesterday, but I have to finish out my project from here in probably the middle of November, so don't worry about me, I'll be there via Zoom.
Okay,
And I may be gone on the 29th.
now you just wanna do it next week,
22nd's better for me.
Yeah.
okay?
Lex, does that work, the October 22nd, next Wednesday?
Yeah, y'all want to do it at 5?
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right, if that gives you enough time, let's get it together. Okay, any other questions or comments? That being said, that wraps up, that not being said, wraps up the workshop for this evening, and we have a 15-minute break to begin our regular meeting at 7 o'clock.
Yay.
Thank you.
And
That's
Christina, will you just mute the audio and video on your side, and I'll pause the meeting. Perfect.
He's a German, he's a blonde German.
He's beautiful.
All right, it's ready?
2 seconds. Okay. All right, trustees, we're gonna start. The time is 7 o'clock PM, Wednesday, October the 15th, in the year 2025. I'd like to call our regular meeting of the Lake City Board of Trustees to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you lead us, Mayor?
How can you, I'd be honored.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My pleasure. Roll call, please.
I got it.
Lindsay? Oh, you got it?
No, no. You can go for it, Christina.
Okay, cool. Lindsay?
Present.
Woods?
Here.
Winery?
Here.
Bruce?
Here.
Roberts? I guess you led the meeting.
Present.
Kendall?
Aki.
All right, and Weiss?
Here.
Perfect.
Threw me for a loop, I normally last.
Yeah, typically, Christina, we do that in alphabetical order.
Ah,
That's
okay.
okay, she was reading nameplates.
Yeah.
She did great.
Same outcome.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for October 15th, 2025.
I second.
Motion, roll call vote, please.
I got it. Bruce,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Weist,
Yes.
and Roberts.
Yes. Okay, regular meeting minutes of 10/1/25. I abstained, I was not present to know what exactly happened. Any questions or comments on the meeting minutes from October 1st?
No, but I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of 10.01, 10/01/2025.
Second.
That was horrible.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Bruce,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Weist,
Yes.
and Roberts.
Abstain.
We probably should wish Dan Schwab aloha, because he's in Hawaii on vacation.
We'll do that at the attorney report.
Oh, okay.
Okay, bills payable for October 15th. Have them, we are paying the wastewater bills in there.
Yeah, the Colorado Resource Water, loan payments are up, so that's why it is a little bit higher. Paying the principal and interest on those.
Any trustees have any questions or comments on the bills payable?
I would like to, move to approve the bills payable of 10/15/25 in the amount of $165,741.35.
I second.
We have a motion and a second, roll call vote, please.
Bruce,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Woods.
Yeah.
Woods,
Yes.
Weist,
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes. Next item, citizens' comments on items not on the agenda. We have no citizens in the room. Well, we have citizens in the room, but that's part of the board.
Gee, thanks.
Any citizens on Zoom have any comments for the board? Seeing no hands raised? Okay, we'll move on. Committee reports. First, Lake San Cristobal Water Activity Enterprises, Trustee Woods.
Well, right now, the, flows in Henson Creek have gone from, the current, the normal is CF, 30 CFS, and it's at 49 CFS, 149. And, the Lake Fork Gateview is historically 98 CFS this time of year, now it's 425. And the water coming out of Lake San Cristobal is historically 29 CFS. And, it's, yeah, 200, so, so the recent rains have really raised, these these flows. Excuse me. The Blue Mesa, they've already sucked more water out of Blue Mesa for all this to send to Lake Powell. And I hope everybody knows that, you know, normally it would, normally or in the past, when it was cooler, before the warming we've seen, the all this water coming down would have been snow and would have stayed around all winter. And I hope, I don't know if everybody's aware, but in the San Juan River through the town of Pagosa Springs went from 100 CFS to 8,400.
Yep.
And it was 51 degrees up on Wolf Creek Pass. And in the past years when it was cooler, that would have been 5 feet of snow that would have been around all winter, and I'd be going skiing this weekend. And it all ran down, and it's already headed towards Lake Powell and off to the Pacific Ocean. So it's water that we're not really able to utilize. And so it's, you know, it's a real tragedy, this warming. And it's a crisis that we're facing. As far as the lakes on Cristobal, the Blue Mesa gauges are not working because of the government shutdown. So they don't really know what the levels are. That it's probably 48% full.
Which was more than it was last time. Because it was only, what, 29?
It was 37, I think.
Well, we appreciate the moisture. Nice to see some snowpack developing here. And our thoughts, prayers go out to those who put those, sounds like they're getting past it, but there was quite a bit of damage.
In the South End of our,
It took out
South End of our county too, had some issues.
it took out, they've had to close Highway 160 a couple times. And it took out a city sewer main. So a whole bunch of sewage went down the San Juan River.
Let's be thankful, ours is up, but not in full. All right, any questions or comments for Trustee Woods on that? Okay, next item, Dennison Basin Roundtable, Trustee Woods.
Well, I apologize for not getting my report done until this afternoon. I think it's in your packet there, so if you have any questions, one of the things that was really interesting was this Colorado West Land Trust that misspelled purchases farm lands, and they put conservation easements on the property to make sure it stays as farmland.
So they purchase it and they put the rights, change the rights?
Pardon?
They purchase the property, then deed restricted?
And they put it, they put it under covenant.
And they got a hard lesson the first one they did.
That's only farming.
Yeah.
It's important, it's not development in it.
They got a hard lesson, one of the first ones they did. And then they resell it to people who want to farm.
They didn't, the mineral rights didn't come with it.
Yeah, and, but they got a hard lesson when one of the first ones they did to people, separated water rights and sold them off. And went into dry land farming made a whole bunch of money on the water rights. So now, one of the requirements is the deed restriction is that the water rights have to stay on the property too. So they're looking for younger people that want to farm.
I'm not young.
Or younger.
Anyone?
Okay, thank you, Henry.
Okay,
I mean, Preston Woods.
sorry, I apologize for all the misspellings on that. I found
I didn't get a chance to read it, but I will. I see the packet when I looked earlier today. Yeah, I will. All right, our next item is a report from the Historic Preservation Commission, Mr. Fox.
Good evening. This report deals with meetings both in September and October. The September meeting, we dealt with two certificate of appropriateness applications. One was an addendum to approval that was completed in 2004. It was a house at 221 Lake Street, Justin Lamotte, a new house, and he asked to change the siding from hardy board kind of siding to metal siding. And asked that it be similar to or the same as the siding that's on Murphy's building just out of town as you're going up the hill, if you know that building. But it has, Murphy's building has metal siding with that application on it to make it look somewhat like barnwood. No, I don't think, different. It's corrugated metal, it looks a bit like roofing metal.
Yeah.
But it's, there seem to be many companies that are now making this kind of siding. It's roofing companies that often get started with it. But there's all kinds of applications of different looking, it looks like looks like a picture, and then the pattern is repeated. And after, just both consulting other historic districts in Colorado, as well as History Colorado with regard to whether it's a new type of siding, it's never been approved in the historic district previously. The consensus, and we came to an agreement with Justin Lamotte that the metal siding was okay, but the fake barnwood look was not an appropriate use within the historic district. And that a solid color siding, which would be more similar to what the old siding was on historic buildings in the town, was a more appropriate use, and that was what was agreed on and approved. We'll probably have more and more requests for such kinds of things here, and it's a new interpretation of what's appropriate within the historic district to look somewhat similar to the old materials that were there. It's an interesting case to try to figure out what is appropriate here, because people did not put barnwood on their new houses in the old days. Barnwood looks appropriate on an old shed and so on, but real barnwood, and we'll see how other historic districts deal with this also, but that seems to be similar to what other historic districts are doing. So just so you know how that kind of thing gets discussed there.
So I guess you approved, people using the metal, the corrugated metal, and then putting that rusting engine on it. I don't know if that's an answer or what, but I know at Crescent View, a lot of those fancy homes are built to look like old mine buildings with a rusty side.
Right, well, and this will bring up an interesting thing that we will certainly have to deal with in the future. that kind of corrugated metal was used traditionally on roofs way back, as well as other kinds of shake shingle roofing and things like that. But that kind of metal roofing was used way back, and it's appropriate to use today on metal roofs, both in replacements on historic buildings as well as new buildings. What's also happened in recent years is the approval of that corrugated metal, most of the time with that acid rusting on it. Some on waistcoating on buildings, and in a few cases siding. In fact, that kind of metal was approved as part of the siding on the new county administration or operations building.
I think more of that's gonna come up because it's more fire resistant.
Well, I actually had a talk with History Colorado about that today, and,
With appropriate insulation behind it.
yes, that's a big part of it, yeah. I won't get ahead of myself here, we have, it looks like we have we have an application coming up for a different use of that. I'm not gonna talk about it here today, you'll hear about it in the future when after we've dealt with it. The other COA at the September meeting was JT Stratton's request to move a garage within the town of Lake City out just past Pleasant View Resort. Move a garage from there to his property, kind of across from the medical center. A wood garage with a fiberglass garage door. That was approved with the simple condition that the fiberglass garage door part of it be painted. It was just raw fiberglass, and so a solid painted color on that. That was approved. He's done that. The October meeting, the only COA that we dealt with a decision was a request from the Coys on Silver Street to build a new shed behind their residence. It's a site build, it's not a prefab thing, site build to look like the architecture of the house. No problem with that at all. The only thing to mention is to let you know the annual report for the HPC to put in to the state is due in November, so we'll be sending that to the town administrative staff for review, because it comes from the town within a week or so. And that simply needs to be approved each year by History Colorado to maintain Lake City's good standing with regard to their certified local government agreement with the state. That's all I have for today.
All right, well, thank you. Any questions, any questions? Thank you, we appreciate the opportunity to listen.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is the Chamber of Commerce, trustee Kendall.
I reported on our last 2 meetings ago. Oh, well, the beer festival. Oktoberfest went off well.
Okay. A lot of questions on that. Next is the marketing committee, trustee Bruce.
We have not had a meeting, but we have one scheduled, it had to be pushed back. It'll be next week on Thursday, so I'll save that for the next report.
Okay.
And then no meeting on the MAC committee. And then on dirt, she attached, Christie sent in the, scoop of dirt, third quarter 2025 dirt scoop. into your packets, and it's there, and it outlines what the last quarter looks like. DIRT wants to thank the town for their support for the Wine and Music Festival. And we did discuss the playground. Of course, we had more up-to-date discussion tonight. And then they've been so kind to, did you see the ad in the paper? They put an ad in the paper thanking me. Because
Yes,
I resigned from the wine tent. And it looks like Laurel Darren will be taking that over, which is good. She's so good. So,
I was gonna say thank you for your 10 years of service.
it was a real learning experience, and I hope to start Laurel out at a better spot, because I was kind of like not thrown to the wolves. I mean, Christy and I did a lot of stuff together those first 2 years, but it was difficult, but we had a great festival.
No, and I think you did a great job. I sincerely thank you for those 10
Thank
years.
you, I appreciate it.
There's a lot of those things, so much work goes into this town to keep it going, that people don't realize.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank all of you for the same thing.
Okay. Anything else on there?
No, we're good.
All right, anybody have any questions for Trustee Bruce? Move on to the High Alpine Region Team, Trustee Woods.
Haven't heard anything from them. I think they're waiting until winter, that everybody's too busy, but we'll try it.
All right.
Plus they try to run out of funding.
All right, that is in the Region 10, that's myself. Last meeting, I pretty much filled you in, they had a new loan administrator now. Everything else has pretty much been business as usual. Lex was talking about, I keep getting emails in from their grant navigator talking about water conservation grants. And I know Joanne's in on it, see all that stuff. I've kind of learned, I get all excited when you get the details and it doesn't quite fit for us. But anyways, it's good to know we have somebody that's staying on top of all that. The other thing I failed to mention is they did with their business revolving loan fund, with their new guy, they put in a new system that's now all online. And so instead of hand filling out applications, all the documentation that you need to get their assistance, it's all on the website now. You get a portal, you can go in there and it's doing that. It streamlined the process. Everything was kind of hand done before. So spread the word, they still want to give money to Hinsdale County for any new businesses. So if you want to go into farming in Lake City, it's hard to talk to Region 10. That's all I have on that. Planning and zoning, I did the county thing, seeing reports from them. I know they're actively working on a housing project. Last time on, planning and zoning for us. That's,
You can do that.
okay.
Yeah, they did not meet this, or I wasn't there. I was out of town, so I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I was just using that as a segue, because now it's the town manager report. Mr. Noel?
Yeah, I already told you about the wastewater treatment plant generator grant. I'll be working on the budget a lot over the next month and a half. Yeah, I mean, I just got back and I've been sick, so I haven't been able to really gather my thoughts. I don't know, Christine, anything off the top of your head I should mention?
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so just Tina's working out really, really well in the office. So is Christina. I believe we have a very high functioning team in the office now, which is wonderful. Yeah, here in a couple of weeks, we'll start advertising for a wastewater operator, and be hiring someone to do that. In the meantime, I am going to make it an employment agreement with Ethan to make him the interim public works director with several milestones he'll need to meet. Yeah, that's what's on the horizon.
All right, well, congratulations and thank you on that grant, that's something else. I'd like to get a lot of work in, $250,000.
Yeah.
Good job, Beck.
Good job.
I'm glad it paid off.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Mahal? Hearing none, we're on to the town engineer report. And I must say, I truly enjoy the photos as to reading your intellectual reports that were much harder to follow. Shows where I'm at, picture books rock.
Yes,
Thank you very
exactly.
much, Karen, come on up.
It's the best.
Well,
I think you're having fun with it.
as they say, a picture's worth
It's a whole lot
1,000 words.
easier than writing it.
Well, you can actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sincerely, I love it, it's great.
Good deal. Works for everybody.
Nice.
So, probably gonna shift to using the new cell maybe tomorrow or Monday. We've lowered the big pond enough that we can't, and raised the new pond enough, we can't get air into the new pond. So tomorrow, we're probably gonna install a valve on the airline that we're using to feed the new pond is the same one as feeding the big pond. The way the plant was set up was there was a way for air to go either to the big aerated cell or the concrete basin. And we tied on to the one that went to the big cell for interim. Well, I think I have this in the report, the blowers missed the boat. And so we won't have new blowers probably, I'm not sure how this year. So we'll keep hoping the old blowers keep going. As soon as we can get enough water out of the big pond, we don't need air in it. So we're putting in this valve for about 2 weeks worth. Just kind of a big bummer, as I told John this morning, but I think it's where we're at.
On the module stress reaction, how did that occur?
There's cage on the
Yeah.
modules, and then there's a pipe that comes out on either end on the 6-foot walls. And the pipes are on the shop drawing an inch and a half, they're supposed to be an inch and a half of clearance from the coupling to the cage.
Yeah.
And none of them had it, but this one had almost 0.
Oh, wow.
And so they tried to get the pipe in, and in the process, they put enough
Yeah,
stress on it, then it'll, 3 weeks later, it
I assume so.
yeah. So, Ridgeway Valley ended up having to pull the module out, because so we put air to it.
Yeah.
Didn't tell, because it's on the inside.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, so they pulled the module, and the only way to repair it was to take all of the lines off. There were 5 lines connected to that deal, and they had to cut all of them.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big deal.
So that explains that photo, that it thinks.
Okay. Oh, yeah, they were looking underneath to see if there was some way short of taking the whole thing apart.
Yeah.
To put it back together.
Well, it seems like things are bad, and once you get going, it's really moving along.
Yeah, it's gone, I think there's gonna be a gap. I thought I wasn't going to need to be here tomorrow and Friday, but when we figured out we needed to insert the valve, I'll be here tomorrow. I'll probably go home tomorrow afternoon and be back first part of the week, but not for very much of it, unless they're making a whole lot more progress. We can't get, they've got pumps that can get rid of all of the water in the big pond in a couple of days, but we would exceed our discharge limit. The transition has been really hard on the plant. We're out of compliance on a couple of different things.
Well, the river's up, and you know,
And,
they
yeah,
say
right.
the solution to pollution is
Pollution is,
dilution.
yeah. Can we bring some river water in and mix it with the effluent?
That was good.
Yeah, well, a lot of our limits are based on that, is how much water is, but it's based on the low flow, with 3-day low flow for each month over a 3-year period, so they don't give you a whole lot of stuff. These little treats of water don't count. Other than that, I mean, hopefully by the end of the next week, the big pond will be in the drying mode, and John's plan is to try to get the sludge moved to either side. If you remember, the big pond gets divided into 2 small ponds, and then there's about a 20 to 40 foot buffer between that and the hillside. And he's gonna try to get that north-south berm built. Whatever sludge he can't get out this year, he put in that other side. And let it freeze, and that'll make it easier in the spring. It's much harder to de-water sludge if it hasn't frozen.
Well, if the pictures are in order, it's good the stress fracture was handled prior to the,
Yeah,
putting the sewage
Yep.
into the new cell.
exactly. You guys yeah, you guys, we're gonna have to drop it again because the submittal I was working on, is for the slide gates, and to get the slide gates in, you'll have to drop the polish, the new cell, put them in, but they won't come till after, they're 12 weeks out. So they'll be a next year thing, and we just won't put them in until everything else is built, so that we don't have this problem with treating sewage, or not treating sewage while we're trying to do it.
So what point in time do you think those covers are gonna go on?
May,
I think that's exciting, I just wanna see them in person.
yeah, yep.
We'll have to have a cover party. All right, any questions for John? Well, we sure appreciate it, and I do drive by, I don't bother you every time, but I do take a peek, see how progress is going.
Yeah, no,
It's exciting, after all,
It is.
after all this time, see time rolling, so thank you very much.
you're up.
Okay,
Thanks,
Our-
Joanne.
our legal update, our attorney is in Hawaii.
Yes.
So everybody with me, mahalo, Dan.
Mahalo, Dan.
Okay, Mayor trustee reports. Trustee Lindsay, you have anything you got to report?
No. Thank you.
Trustee Woods? Not today? Trustee Bruce?
I have a comment. Regrettably, something happened last night. An incident within our town limits. And I just want to say that those that doubted my intentions or the information that I put forward regarding the IGA negotiations, I regret to be able to say I told you so. Okay, I'm not gonna go into the details. I was not there.
This was last night?
I spoke to people that were there. I saw videos of what was happening. It is not good. And the sheriff's office did not serve us well. Matter of fact, I can probably say with all the knowledge I have on this, that they did not serve us at all. Even though there was a response. The only good thing about the incident was nobody innocent was injured or killed, which I'm very thankful for. So I want to put this out for you to ponder as a board. What's the difference between having an IGA and not receiving service, or not having an IGA and not receiving service? And I would say to you, the difference is $100,000. And I just want you to think about it. It makes my heart beat fast, my blood pressure go up, because what happened wasn't right. And we have to pay attention. We have a town to protect. That was my whole purpose, and that's why we're here. So that's my speech for the night. You're welcome.
You'll have to fill us in.
Well, you can call me tomorrow. I'm actually,
Yeah.
it's very overwhelming.
Doesn't sound like a good situation. Everybody will get filled in there.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Bruce, trustee Kendall, what is it? Trustee Bruce? I don't, other than, thank you to all those that worked on the events that we've had recently. I'm hoping that moisture continues to fall, and even more in the form of snow, and
Yes.
without avalanches, too many.
Yes.
And,
Woo-hoo.
and I must say, I'm actually looking forward to town being slower and winter coming,
Oh,
the
yeah.
time of Lake City I love.
Yes.
So, everybody relax a little bit.
Agreed.
Hope you get a lot of snow on your ski hill.
Me too.
Okay, other than that, we'll move on. Correspondence received. Nada. We have no additions to the agenda, so we can move into our action items and finish this meeting. Our first action item is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2025-10, the 2025 budget amendment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion is second, we had discussion earlier with that. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Winery,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Weist,
Yes.
and Roberts.
Yes. And our final item, discussion of possible action to schedule a special 2026 budget workshop. Everybody sound like we're in agreement for next Wednesday, the 22nd at 5 p.m. So moved, that idea.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion in a second, it was already discussed earlier, roll call vote, please.
Was the second Lindsay?
Yes.
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Kendall,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Winery,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Weist,
Yes.
and Roberts.
Yes. And with no further action before the board this evening, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
Amen.
Night, everyone.
All right, thanks, Lance, feel better.
Yeah, thank you.